Okay, I guess we're live. Hey everybody, Jem Schofield here with the C47, and this is, I guess, the first official live broadcast, live stream to my YouTube channel. I'm still sorting stuff out here, so please forgive the problems. I have an ear set in here right now, mainly to deal with feedback loop situations. And I'm looking at the quality of the picture, and at least live it's looking pretty fuzzy, so I apologize for that, but I will get better at this, and we'll get this all sorted out, and we'll take it from there. So hopefully, hey, webcam, yes, Ken. I guess I'm just going to answer stuff verbally because it's going to be a lot easier than me writing stuff up. I'm also in my studio, which doesn't have the best internet. So what I might need to do is boost what I have in this space. So let me just start off by saying, for people who are going to watch this later on, because that's what I'm expecting is going to happen, that it might seem like I'm throwing shit up against the wall and seeing what sticks, and there's probably some truth to that, but there is a little bit of a plan here. And one of the things that I've been doing over the last few weeks is really, well, actually the last couple of months, is testing different concepts and ideas and things that I'd like to do for the YouTube channel, possibly for Facebook Live, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So going live is definitely going to be part of that, and I've been testing some software. Right now I'm using something called Mimo Live. It lets me do some cool stuff, like I can bring up graphic files, I can play out videos, still images, and this is potentially going to be what we're going to use for a new weekly show that I'm going to be doing with a couple of other people that should get started in, I'm going to say, the next 2 weeks or so. The format has already been worked out, which I'm really excited about, and the people involved are already on board. It's really just working out the technical issues and coming up with a final name for the show. It will probably replace one of my 3 videos every week. Probably at the beginning of the week will be posted to my YouTube channel, possibly to Facebook Live, but definitely to its own YouTube channel as well. So we will, the 3 of us, be taking that content and pushing it to our own channels, but also it will have its own home, and it will definitely be industry focused. It will be gear focused, it will be industry chatter focused, and I am excited about that. So I'm hoping this whole live stream thing works. It will get archived on YouTube so people can watch it afterwards. Let me just bounce over and just see if there's any questions other than Ken's about the webcam, and there are not at the moment. A couple of people watching, not a big crowd, and that's to be expected. But you know, over time this will get adjusted. By the way, the webcam I'm using is the Logitech 930E, as in Edward, and I like it because it has a really wide field of view. I can pick it up and move it around if I want to, so I can take it and show you guys stuff in terms of what's in the studio. It's got some nice features overall, and it's a hell of a lot better than the iSight camera in terms of low light performance and feature sets and stuff like that. At the moment, I think I have it set up where it is auto focusing, so I'm going to turn that off and just see how well it holds up. In addition to this weekly show that's kind of going to get launched soon, I'm thinking about doing this once a week, which is a live stream in the studio, probably, though it could be from anywhere, talking about craft, talking about producing and things like that, and then maybe one shot episode every week. So I'm still going to try to go with this 3 times a week thing, It might go down to 2 depending on quality of content. But again, that's kind of what this is all about. But definitely stuff. Can Mimo do multicam? It absolutely can do multicam, Ken. It's actually got a pretty cool feature called Mimo Call, which allows you to generate essentially a URL that can be used in the Chrome browser. And when the person pastes that URL into their Chrome browser, it takes their video and their audio feed, and then it makes it essentially a layer that I can add to the layer stack of Mimo. In fact, let's just do this right now, because that's kind of cool. I have in my layer stack the ability to see my desktop and what is on my desktop. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys that. And this is a little snapshot in terms of what Mimo Live looks like. Over here are some of your sources, and then over here are things in your layer stack. Still sorting things out, but for instance, if I wanted you guys to subscribe, I could go, hey everybody, please subscribe, right? Whoops, there. And that's just a graphic file, and then I can turn that off, and then I can have other graphic files on deck. I can play video files as part of that. But you'll see that there's this option here called split screen, and if I just move that up in the layer stack, I can set it up where I can have as many as 6 up in different configurations, and these could be different video streams for what we're doing. For instance, this would be probably our standard 3 up for the show that we're going to be doing, and then I can solo different people. That's me soloed right now. And then I would turn that off. So there's me soloed, and then I could do something, for instance, let's just make sure it's in the right place, yep. And then I can bring up a lower third, which will basically play down. I can set a timer on that as well. Right now it's set, I think, for 7 seconds, and then boom, it will disappear. And then I could go ahead and solo whoever the second person is, which you'll find out more about later on. And then I could solo them, and then I could go ahead and bring up a lower third for them as well. And so it just depends. Oh, there's their name. You didn't see it. Maybe you did. So a lot of functionality there that I'm pretty excited about overall in terms of what you can do. And it's a pretty exciting system as long as it all works. So we'll kind of see how that all plays out. But let me just go ahead and go back to my main camera here, and then also just turn on the desktop. So you can see that there's all of this stuff going on, and I should be able to just use my shortcuts here to zoom into things, and you can see that there are a lot of different options. And I might go into some tutorial stuff with this in the future, and it's a hell of a lot easier than screencasting. So let me just go ahead and leave. Let me actually go back and turn that off now, and then we're back on my feed, and then I will go back to Chrome and see if there's any other questions that people have before I go ahead. What do I think about using LED lights for photography? Well, I think wait, hold on. Yes, you can choose a graphic to replace the gray background in the 3 up, Ken. So we'll talk more about that, and I'll get into Mimo Live with you guys a little bit more. Zlatko, what do I think about using LED light for photography? I think it's great. I mean, I think it depends on the type of photography you're doing. Obviously, there's a big trend towards continuous lighting for still photography. A lot of that has to do with the fact that with digital cameras that we are a lot more sensitive to light, which allows us to shoot with continuous light in different photographic situations. But I would say that when you're still trying to do specialized stuff, high shutter and things like that, then strobes make a lot of sense. Though there are some pretty interesting things that are starting to happen in that space too. Rhodolite actually has an LED light that has a strobe feature in it. I don't know to what shutter speeds you can sync to yet, but I'm getting some more information on that, and I should be getting a demo unit of that to test out in the near future. So I guess that's it. Any other questions anybody has at the moment before I jump into some budgeting stuff that I want to talk to you about? just go ahead and type it up right now, because I'm going to hide the Chrome browser so that I can switch over and just talk to you a little bit about budgeting projects for some reason today. This is just water, by the way. I'm not promising it always will be, but today it is just water with some lime. So it doesn't look like there's any other questions at the moment. So let me go ahead and go over to Mimo Live, which is going to allow me to turn on my desktop view. And then what I'm going to switch over to is numbers. And I'm going to bring up essentially a pretty simplified spreadsheet. And I will tell you that if there's one thing that I'm not, it's a numbers guy. It doesn't mean that I don't know how to budget a project, but it does mean that I'm not very good at doing this kind of stuff. Who is calling me here? I'm getting a call from a client, but I am going to have to call them back in a minute. So let me just send them a text message. Give me 1 second. So just 1 second. Let's see what happens. Okay. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so basically this is a budget template, and I expand and contract this depending on what type of project I'm doing. What I try to do when I'm working with a potential or existing client is I try to sit down and fill this out before I actually write the proposal. What it allows me to do, and it's pretty easy to set up, I'm not going to read that right now, is it allows me to kind of get a sense of what this thing's going to cost. As I said, you can add or remove things depending on what you're doing. For me, I pretty much break it down into these sections. So under service, I have pre-production, I have production, I have post-production, equipment, and then production services. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this today, partially because I'm going to have to get back to that client, which is an important client. But what I do, and you can recreate something like this pretty easily, is I just start to plug numbers in. Numbers that are realistic to our audience. And let me just go back to Chrome and make sure there aren't any other questions. There aren't right now. Good, but I am seeing that you guys are seeing the spreadsheet. So I'm just going to switch back to numbers here. So generally, pre-production for me is the planning stage, and obviously one of the most important. Generally, those days are not standard 12-hour days. They're usually 8-hour days. So I usually do those at half rate. Whatever the rate is in production, it's usually done at a half rate. That's really up to you whether or not you want to do that. So for instance, let's just plug in some numbers here. If I had 3 days worth of pre-production where I might be planning the project, we might be scouting a location, and then maybe there's even a pre-light, and we don't do that on a full 12-hour day sometimes. Let's put in a half rate. If I was making $1,000 a day, then I'd be putting in $500 a day for that. A DP coming in, let's just say they come in for 2 days. They're going to come in for a scout day, and then they're going to come in for basically a pre-light in this situation. And let's just say they're making $750, so their half-day rate, or half rate would be, not half-day rate, but half rate would be $375. Maybe you have an AD. You have the type of project where you really need somebody to handle all those moving parts. And so that AD would be coming in, let's just say they're also making $750 just for giggles, and then we put them in. And then there's a line producer because maybe it's that type of project. That very oftentimes I won't have an AD or a line producer in this part of the project. I might have an AC who would be doing a checkout day, or they might be doing a checkout and a check-in date, so I might have to put in a couple of days for them. In fact, let's just do that for now. We'll put in an AC camera tech, and they're in for 2 days. And let's just say for this particular project, they're making $600 a day in production, so we've got them in for $300 a day for the pre-production. And then I look at how many total days I have here. So I've got here 3, 5, 7, 9, And this is really, really important for you. You need to put money in for meals and expenses. Let's just say it's $50 per person for those days. And there you have it. So you have money in your budget, believe it or not, to actually feed everybody, which is kind of important. And then, of course, we go into production and we start to plug in those numbers. $1,000, let's just say, for that. We're doing 3 days of production for this project. There's an AD, they're coming in and they're, they're making $750 a day. DP's making, director of photography is making $750. Very oftentimes that's also going to be the first camera operator on my types of projects. A second camera operator, that may or may not be the AC camera tech, but I'm just showing you different people who would be involved in the production, just so you guys can get an idea of that. Holy crap, I realized something. You guys are not, oh, you are, you're seeing everything. So I hope that's starting to make sense to everybody overall in terms of how I'm breaking it down. So if I, if I start to put those numbers in, it starts to give me a very, very clear idea of what that project's going to cost. So let's just go back to full screen here and back to the numbers document. AC, very important. Probably going to be your data wrangler as well, though oftentimes now what I'll do is I'll bring an assistant editor in who's usually also the editor for the project and have them on set, because they can actually make notes, they can make sure that they're communicating with the production crew, especially with instructional videos. It's good to have that two-way communication there to figure out what types of shots are necessary. But we'll just go ahead and put in the numbers here. And I'm just going to plug some numbers in overall here. Let's just say that our gaffer grip who's swinging, and then we've got, or we can sometimes call it a grip electric. Key grip, maybe not in this one, so I might take that out. So I would just go ahead and delete that row. And then we would say, and you guys can label this any way you want, but let's just say I do grip electric, because very oftentimes that'll be just one person on these smaller projects. And this is a pretty big crew, actually. I mean, very oftentimes it's a 1 to 3 person crew, but I'm just trying to put some stuff in here that you might think about. Most sound recordists, sound mixers, are owner operators, so they're going to bring their own equipment. Let's just say in New York it might be at least $650, possibly $750 a day. Makeup artists with their kit range for me is $500 to $750 a day. We'll split the difference and we'll just say $650. And then we don't need a key grip here. I don't know why we keep having key grips. But what we should here is we should have production assistant. So we'll just call it a production assistant, and there we go. And that might be 2 production assistants, it might be 1. We'll just say production assistant, and we'll put them in for, let's say, $250 a day. Unless you're willing to teach a PA and really teach them on set, then you need to pay them something, because they're there to work. And then you have to add it up. So 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, right, there you go. So you got 27. So you basically just put in how many crew you have, right? Oh, actually, I didn't even need to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 9 crew working for 3 days, and then generally we're working 12-hour days. So let's just say it's $75 a day for meals and expenses. And trust me, there's situations you need to cover an Uber, the subway's broken, all that kind of stuff. And even if they're locals, you need to do that. Assistant editor, very oftentimes, as I said, they are the editor, but let's just say that you're, let's just say it's $300 a day, and then the editor is $600 a day. And again, these numbers may be more or less depending on what you're doing. Post supervisor, that's the person who's overseeing all of the posts, probably the producer director on corporate type work. So you put in a rate for that, whatever that's going to be. Let's just say it's 600, it might be 750. Motion graphics, do you need it? If you do, you need to put in some days for that. And I'm just plugging in numbers here, and then sort of your finishing. So that's all sort of like your final output and color correction and all that kind of stuff. So you can see these are starting to add up. Camera kit, on a 3-day week, let's just say, even if it was a longer production, it was a 5-day production, you probably still do it on a 3-day week. So it's 2 camera kits. Each camera kit's $500. and then 750, whatever it's going to be. Let's just put in similar numbers here. Don't forget storage, so that's going to be your hard drives, and you need to figure out how many days of production are going to be happening, and you need to have basically, you know, 2 hard drives where you're going to be putting your data, and then also a backup of that. So we'll just say that there's 4 drives at $250 each. Production insurance, I have an annual policy for liability insurance, but you can get short-term policies for about $600 for a 10-day production. It's going to be extras if you have pyrotechnics and if you need rental insurance and all kinds of stuff. And then the real key here is the production company fee, because when you look at these costs, especially in production and pre-production, these are actual costs to you. So if you're paying a DP $750 a day for 3 days at $22.50, you should be writing a check to them for that amount of money. So let's just say that we put in 20% of the overall. And generally what I do is I will minus all of the sort of, you know, producer, director, and insurance fees. So in this case, I will put in the amount that I have down here, which is $43,625. This is a completely fictional project based on nothing. So these numbers are not necessarily accurate. I would minus the $1,500 for the producer, director in pre-production. I would minus the $3,000 for the producer, director in production. If the post supervisor is the producer, you might actually minus those fees in post-production as well, and then I would take away the insurance fees. So then you wind up with $38,525. You plug that in, $38,525, and you put that in, and that is essentially your profit for the project, because you have to continue to buy your production insurance, you have to expand your company, you have to reinvest in equipment, and all of that fun stuff. So there's more to it than that, but I think that kind of gives you a little bit of an overview. I'm going to switch back over to Chrome to see what we have. Is this price per day real in for DP in US? I'm living in Bulgaria. Here the price is lower. Well, you know, it's really, Zlatko, it really depends. And by the way, the spreadsheet template I don't make downloadable. It is part of a workshop